Steven, sometimes I could be a little hyperbolic, but if you were paying attention, it's early. If you were paying attention to basketball last night, was that one of the dumbest things we've ever seen during a sporting event?
You're talking about Shannon Sharp, Grizzlies?
Yes.
So what happened fully? All I saw were the highlights. I was watching a stand-up comedian last night. So
Oh, nice.
well, not watching. I was at it. We were at a comedy club
in San Jose?
No, Sunnyvale. It's called Rooster Tees, I think.
Yeah, I know Rooster Tees. Who performed?
Nick Thune.
Oh, I know Nick Thune very well.
Yeah,
not personally. I saw Nick Thune. God, must have been 10 years ago in college. He went to Cap City Comedy Club in Austin, Texas. And I will say that for a stand-up comedian, he didn't have the best attitude with hecklers. Now, listen,
really?
I get it. When you have a heckler in the audience, you got to clap back at him, and you have to have a good, comeback for him and everything. Nick Thune was so put off by people talking that he just didn't want to perform anymore. And then at one point, I, with my friend, said, "Oh, come on, Nick," like out loud, being like, "You still got to perform." But he does like kind of like a Dimitri Martin kind of style of comedy.
Yeah, and I guess I think I can understand that though, because I thought that was going to happen. There were two people behind us. There was like this couple who were right behind us, and like they weren't even looking at the stage. They were talking the whole time.
Also, people need to know stand-up comedy etiquette too. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's just like shut up. Like let the dude perform and let him do his thing. It's like when the guitar started playing, you could hear them laughing and chatting it up in the background. I'm like, what are you doing? No, there was that, but Jesse was kind of pissed at me because she threw out the suggestion. I had no idea about Rooster Tees. I thought like San Jose Improv was the only comedy club near here. And then and I was like, okay, well, you got to watch a couple of his clips.
Yeah.
And then I showed her a couple, and it turns out that like those were two of the jokes that he did. Well, not even actually, it was like a multitude of jokes. It was like basically his whole first set with the guitar is what we watched. So she was kind of pissed at me for that. But it was still funny nonetheless. And he had a couple of he had the opener who was really good. I'd seen him on Instagram once, and it's actually funny because we saw the clip on Instagram of the joke that he did to begin, and it's like the difference between an affogato and an avocado. And the fact that he brought out some lady in avocado when he was working as a waiter at a restaurant. Anyway, no, it was great. And then the guy I felt bad for though, and I really have not seen this before because I haven't been to an actual comedy club where it's like, you sit down at the small round table in the front and kind of intimate.
2-drink minimum.
Yeah, the 2-drink minimum. The host, that's a tough job.
Yeah, usually hosts a comedy club or, they work there too, and they're trying to, kind of break into the comedy scene. I was lucky. One of my favorite things about living in LA was I was living right next to the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory, and I went all the time. And I miss that. You need to go back to a comedy club. But yes, Nick Thune does like to repeat a lot of jokes. Same thing happened to me when we knew we were going to go see him later that week. He was on Conan earlier that week, so we watched him, me and my buddies, and he did the same exact joke. And at one point during the set, I was mouthing along with him, and he saw me, and he goes, "Oh, so you already know this bit?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, well, why don't you just do it then?" I'm like, "Whoa, I'm not trying to be an asshole here."
Wow. Yeah. So you really had a bad experience with him.
He just didn't have a good night. Like people were talking, and he was doing his old material, and I guess I was egging him on. So
he's got some jerk in the crowd who's mouthing the jokes out to him.
Well,
as if it's a concert with like a popular band who's playing his oldies, who's playing his hits.
I was just like, I know this already, but at the same time, I wasn't interrupting this set. Right. I wasn't making a scene like Shannon Sharp. And by the way, just your opinion, man, Stephen Langford, Derek Popo. We'll get to all of the football today. But I saw this last night. I wasn't watching the game, but I was scrolling through Twitter and everything. I see all the stuff with like Shannon Sharp. Let me just get this out of the way. I have immense respect for Shannon Sharp, the football player. I grew up watching Raiders and Broncos, and he was a dominant tight end, Hall of Famer, maybe one of the best of all time, if not in the argument to be one of the best of all time. Loved him as a player, hated him too. But his whole thing with, what's the show, Undisputed?
Yeah.
I mean, like, whatever's going on with him and Skip lately, it's been well documented. And I thought Skip, the whole thing with Damar Hamlin and Shannon not coming on that show that day. Who knows what's real? Who knows what's not real? But, like, what the hell's going on? Like, he's allowed to interrupt a game and talk shit to the players and have it delayed because he's a man of importance. Like, I understand he's Shannon Sharp, he's Hall of Famer and everything, but he's also just like LeBron fan at that moment. And I thought it was ridiculous. And they interviewed Dylan Brooks after the game, and they were like, "Were you surprised that he got to stay in the game?" He was like, "Yeah, it's LA though, like, whatever." I thought it was ridiculous. I thought Shannon Sharp should have been kicked out of that game. It was he just because he's a celebrity doesn't mean that he gets to interrupt that game and talk shit to the players like he's a member of the Lakers coaching staff. I know he's a LeBron guy, but that was just ridiculous last night.
Yeah, and if you're going to go to a game and you're going to talk to the players courtside, like, what are you going to stand up and do something as you're like, come on. Like, like, it's this complex that he has that he's always had. Like, it's always been there. Like, I think it's taken everything in him to not sometimes just jump over the table and strangle Skip sometimes,
Sometimes he should.
Because of what he says. But I don't know, like, it was a situation that I'm looking at and I'm thinking, if this were anybody else, it would probably just be, all right, he's gone. Like, this guy has to be out of here. Like, this can't go on. But I'm also thinking, like, Steven Adams, watching that video. See, no one wanted to mess with Steven Adams. Shannon Sharp mentioned everyone except for Steven Adams.
Yeah.
Like, he was talking big with all the Grizzlies players until Steven Adams popped up, and it's like this 7-foot, what would you call them? What are they from Game of Thrones? I forgot what the characters are from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But the 7-foot Game of Thrones, the people who ride on horseback, the 7-foot guy just comes over. Hi.
Ernie will come through. He's patiently waiting.
Stop it over there. Stop it over there. Stop it. That's my New Zealand accent.
Yeah, and I also loved LeBron and the post game. I saw the clips where he was just like, "Yeah, Shannon Sharp's had my back since day one, man. 365, 366. He's got my back." It's like, what are we talking about here? Shannon Sharp, old, tight end in the NFL during the 90s. And he's going to come on and try to beat someone's ass during a basketball game and try to kick John Morant's ass. This is ridiculous.
Well, I will say he is. I mean, you could say he's an old NFL player from the 90s, but man, that dude is still in shape. Have you seen any Instagram videos of him?
Of course. And I see everybody's like, oh, they don't want that smoke. But at the same time, he is, as Dylan Brooks put it, a pedestrian. He's a random person in the crowd. This is like Larry David tripping Shaquille O'Neal. You can't interrupt the game.
Right. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
No, I agree.
And he should have been kicked out of the game. He's not getting some Academy Award for Best Actor. He should have been kicked out of the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very passionate about this.
I just thought it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And then on Monday, he's going to go on a show and, instead of all the playoff talk, it's going to be like, they don't want that smoke, Skip. He's like, well, you should have been there in the first, whatever. That's sports media now, is that we're going to cause a scene off the court and now it's going to become reality.
Did you see Stephen A's interview with Howard Stern?
I did, and I wanted to bring that up too. I give Stephen A. Smith a lot of shit.
Yeah, you do. I mean, a lot. You totally write him off, and you don't listen to him at one iota. I don't. Anytime I bring him up, you're like, nope.
I don't, because I think that he's acting. Like, as you put it before, he's a performer.
Yes.
But I will say this: I listened to the interview, and Howard Stern, say what you want about him with some things lately, he does fantastic interviews.
What happened with him? Some things lately. What do you mean with that?
People, people that are diehard Howard Stern fans are kind of turned off by him lately because he's not what he used to be as far as being outlandish and outrageous. He's kind of more political centric now. Oh, but I will say when he has interviews, they are very well done.
Right.
Of course, when Tom Brady went to the Buccaneers, he did a sit-down interview with I actually didn't sit down. He did a Zoom call because it was during the pandemic. But that was a great interview. Yeah, I saw some clips of Stephen A. with Howard Stern. I thought it was extremely well done. And hearing the stuff about his father, I enjoy stuff like that when people are personable and give you the real them. Um, that being said, I don't like Stephen A. Smith, the guy on First Take, but behind the scenes, I'm sure he's a great guy.
Yeah. No, I do think there's a lot of theater that goes into it, and I've always respected him for what he's done, and he does, after all, know it's entertainment. But also at the same time, I'm like, his attitude of ain't nobody gonna beat me at a debate. Like that attitude. It's like, well, you may not think so, but it's like I love the thing that he brought up with on Draymond Green's show too. He was on the Draymond Green podcast. Actually, I want to listen to that. But when he said that,
how is that podcast lately?
I haven't listened to it. I've listened to clips, but I haven't really listened to it. He was really candid about the Jordan Poole thing.
I did hear about that.
Yeah.
But also, I will be completely honest. I'm kind of glad we're not hearing a lot of the Draymond Green podcast these days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still there, and
I know it's there, but we don't have the clips with kind of the hidden agendas, if you will.
Yeah. No, for sure. But when Stephen A. brought up T.O. and how like T.O. went on First Take and said, "Hey, Max Kellerman is blacker than you, Stephen."
Yeah.
That was bad.
I didn't like that at all.
And but when Stephen A. says, "I had some dirt on him and I didn't even want to bring up. I kept my composure or whatever."
He stole Guru's girlfriend.
I believe him. Like I 100% believe him. Like when he says that he has some sort of ammo that he doesn't even want to mention that would get a TO in a lot of trouble.
I mean, as a journalist, I'm sure he's got dirt on everybody. Not everybody, but a lot of NBA peoples.
Yeah, and it's absolutely true what he said on. Now I'm going back to Stern. I keep on going back and forth. Howard Stern, Draymond Green, same people.
Howard Stern,
but nice. But like when he's talking about how you could just write an article based off of a tweet, he's just like, you could just do that. Like you don't even have to do any journalism. They do all the journalism for you. It's like,
no, that's true.
That's actually, it's not. I mean, if you're like a young up and coming person who wants to get into like sports journalism, like listen to that. You don't really need a lot. You just need like a blog. You need a laptop, and then you need a couple of tweets, and then you could write a whole blog about it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, some people are actually grinding and doing a good job of writing articles and stuff. But by the way, I want to give a shout out to our old friend who came on the podcast with us about a year ago, Whitley Sandretto, going to the White House.
Yeah,
for the Warriors. That was awesome.
Presidential.
And I heard that Mark Spears came on with us. He's a weekly on KMBR, and he said it without saying it. He was like, I don't want to mention her name because she works for the competitor. But something went down where the Secret Service had to get involved because she wanted to go to the bathroom or something.
Oh, I got to text her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to message her about that. Yep. Okay. I'm talking to her after the show. We are getting down to it.
Yeah.
All right. What?
Yeah. We should probably try to get her on, although I don't know if she can come on with me anymore. But yeah. No, we'll find out what happened there. But yeah, somewhere she had to go to the bathroom or something.
Oh, I'm going to text her.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that right after the show.
Nice. So last week
she had to go to the bathroom.
Mark wasn't very clear because he couldn't give the whole details, but something about the fact that the Secret Service was getting weird.
That's annoying. It's like Whitley got to use the bath. Let her use the restroom. Someone has to go. Like let them. It's okay. So nothing's gonna happen here. Good Lord.
But also that's like love Whitley, but that's also like something that would happen to Whitley.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is, and I guarantee you, she's laughing about it at this moment when she thinks about it. That's a very Whitley thing to happen.
But Whitley will be watching today because she's a diehard Chiefs fan, so she'll be watching her Chiefs and Jags. The Warriors are off today. Yeah, they play tomorrow.
Yeah.
How about that? Warriors and Nets play tomorrow. I think Durant's going to be out once again, going to Chase Center. But that game's at 5:30 during Cowboys Niners. Ooh.
Yeah, but when they made the schedule, they didn't know that.
I know. By the way, we haven't talked about this in a while, and we'll talk about it more once football season ends. But I don't know about these Warriors.
That's the conclusion that you come to?
I'm not going to go full on like, oh, they're not winning the championship or anything, but like this is the worst I've seen from them in a while. Not including the 15 win season, but that was just a calamity of injuries. I don't know about these Warriors.
Well, I'm with you, but they've also been hurt at real inopportune times.
No doubt.
Steph's injury, it felt like it's when Steph's injury happened and you got like Jonathan Kuminga. It felt like Jonathan Kuminga was really finding his groove, and then Kuminga gets hurt when Steph comes back. Klay Thompson's looked okay. Jordan Poole has had some rough games for sure, but he's also looked fantastic in some. Whenever they get the win, he was awesome last night. They've been hurt by injuries, but at the same time, like, yeah, I'm with you. But it's all about health going into March and actually just making it to the playoffs and managing to get within a top 10 seed. So I don't know. That's really what it comes down to. I thought they fought hard against the Celtics, though.
Yeah.
The fourth quarter was awful. They can't close games. They haven't found a way to play for a full 48 minutes. Like, you can hear a quote from Steph after a game or after that game against the Celtics, and you'll think that that's a quote from something like 2 weeks ago, because it feels like he's repeating the same thing, which is we're still trying to find that team who can compete for all 48 minutes, So,
or Steve saying, it's a wake up call.
Yeah, something like that.
I feel like every like fifth game or whatever, it's a wake up call.
The lineup change, going to be an interesting one for moving forward too. Once he starts out with a smaller lineup, it looks like that's what he's going to do going forward here. So once Kuminga comes back, I really think he was coming into his own before his injury. I think that was the worst timed injury there was for the Warriors other than Steph. So yeah, I don't know. I'm with you though.
There's still, this is a conversation we'll have for another day, but I think that when you see some things that are going to happen in the offseason, and Draymond Green even mentioned this, I think with Taylor Rooks, where he said the writing's on the wall, I would love to come back to be a Warrior, but it doesn't look like that's mutually received. So once, somebody's going to leave, and maybe even Bob Myers is going to leave, then I think, the incentive to win is kind of lessened.
Yeah. And Bob Myers, podcast host.
I saw that. We're months away from this, but if I had to guess, I have no knowledge. I think Bob may step away and be a media personality.
I think he'd be really good at it.
He would be great. It's just weird that hasn't been rectified. And if you listen to Joe Lacob on Tim Kawakami's podcast, he was like, yeah, ball's in Bob's court. If he wants to sign back, we'll let him sign back, and then we'll go from there. So
Ernie, of course, has the answer. Bad service, but Sandretto said what happened. Okay, well, I do not know the story, Ernie.
Did she tweet it out?
Did she tweet it? Is it a tweet?
I haven't been on Whitley's. We'll find out during the show. I'm
looking it up.
Okay, look it up while I give the lowdown on what's going on in the NFL today. If you don't know, it's the divisional playoffs. And in my opinion, this is the best weekend of the year. Maybe even the best sports weekend of the year, but I know everybody doesn't love football. Do you agree, Steven? Best weekend of the year?
Yeah. Yeah, because okay, she was on Steiny. Okay, because she was on Steiny and Guru on the roast. Okay, gotcha, Ernie.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
she's actually hits now?
Huh? I remember that. I listened vaguely. I listened. It was yeah. I heard that she was coming on, but okay,
sweet,
yeah, interesting. Yeah, I agree, because like I don't know, each of these, it's mostly the factor of like the number one seeds coming off the bye. Now it's like you got the two best teams in the NFL both playing this weekend. You have everything that happened last weekend, whatever you want to draw from it. I agree. I do think it's like the best weekend of the year. Plus, it's just like it's easy,
Yeah,
easy weekend.
Two games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, and you got the teams off the bye. and should be on. It's the best 4 teams in each conference. So no, it's going to be exciting. And speaking of last week, we picked games, and I've been terrible at coming up with punishments for when I'm wrong. And you beat me by one single point. It was close, but I think I need to stop picking unders.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that 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 under call with the Chargers and Jags, not great.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. You do not go with an under.
Because in the playoffs, Steven, defenses play better, but I guess not.
Not always. I mean,
Not always.
it
Not
depends.
always.
It depends what it is. But when it's two teams like that, where it's like they're two young teams, you got these two young hotshots with Herbert and Lawrence going at it against each other. It's primed to be a shootout type of game.
I
So,
get
yeah.
it. I get it.
Uh,
That being said, it's time to pay up. And I know I said last podcast I was going to get hot sauce and beer, but I forgot to get both. So I'm rolling with what I have in my cabinet, and I'm just going to dab a little cayenne pepper, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to just put a little on my hand here.
so
Oh,
what,
yeah.
you're just gonna lick the pepper.
Yep. Here we go.
Ugh.
Well, that's hot. Oh, that's hot. All right. Oh, God. See, there's pain in this, Steven. There's no pleasure in the wings. Fuck. All right. Before we get to these games,
It's almost like it's not even clever. It's just
it's definitely not clever, and it's in my lungs. All right. Before we get to these games,
what?
woo, some NFL tidbits.
Huh?
QB tidbits. I was watching the pregame show on ESPN this morning, and Adam Schefter and Chris Mortensen were giving the lowdown on 3 big names in this NFL offseason as far as quarterbacks: Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Derek Carr. And he said that Aaron Rodgers could be traded this offseason. I love when he says could be, because he hasn't in the last 3 seasons. That's always been a topic of conversation. But I guess with his decline in play this season and only having 1 year left on his contract, the Green Bay Packers may look to trade him. I would wonder in the NFL who would be interested in having to pay their quarterback as much money as Aaron Rodgers makes. I think he makes $50 million a year. So, yeah, I find that hard to believe, but we'll see if that happens this offseason as well. Then we got Tom Brady, and everyone's talking about will he come, back this season, or sorry, will he come back to play this next season? And everyone doesn't know about that, but I guess the consensus is that Tom Brady is not going to come back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's no surprise.
Right.
They fired Byron Leftwich this week. And that kind of sucks for Byron Leftwich, considering that it sounded as if he had the Jaguars job and declined it because he didn't want to work with Trent Baalke. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And the expectation is that Tom Brady will, be a Raider. There's other teams in the mix, but sounds as if Tom Brady will not be a Buccaneer, and that's no surprise to anybody. Speaking of the Buccaneers, Adam Schefter reports that the entire NFC South, including the Bucs and including the Saints, who I predicted, are interested in Derek Carr. So there you go. Your thoughts on all of those stories while I drink some water from the
Aaron, you told me last podcast you were done with Aaron Rodgers. You said I don't even care. I don't want him to hold the media hostage with whatever he's going to do.
No, I said that in what it pertains to if he's going to come back or not.
Right. Yeah.
So if he's playing football, then I understand the other drama with if he's going to get traded or not. But this whole, I got to see how I feel. Shut up.
Yeah, it's a headache, but he wasn't that good this season. Like, that's also something. He thinks he can play at an MVP level. I don't know if it's because he was out on like the Packers. I don't know what it was, but he was not very good this year. I know he didn't have like a lot of. I know he didn't have a lot of help. Obviously Adams is gone, but there were still throws that like he could have made it easier on his wide receivers, and there were a lot of times where he was blaming them, and I get that. But I don't think he was that great this year, and it's kind of the same thing with Tom Brady. But I do think if he goes to a new team, he can thrive, and I don't know who that new team would be. It really, don't know. From everything I'm reading, it does not sound like the Raiders are that interested in Rodgers. Maybe they
Oh,
are, but it seems like they are really wanting to go the Patriot way here and wanting to sign some former Patriots who understand McDaniel's system already, instead of having a guy like Rodgers who will probably, throw the Microsoft Surface tablet if something goes wrong in McDaniel's face.
and also, if Derek Carr is not really into the Josh McDaniels berating him in front of a room full of his teammates, you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be down for that?
Yeah, not at all. So there's that. Tom Brady. I don't know if you watched the Mic'd Up segment from last week, but Tom Brady was just really frustrated with his team. Like there was
No shit.
And Byron Leftwich. There was one clip where Brady basically said, "What else do you want me to do?" like I think it showed a lot. And then, well, Derek Carr, of course, the NFC South's interested because the NFC South doesn't have any quarterbacks. So, like, that's no surprise. Like, those guys aren't saying anything that's brand new. What I did see from Schefter, though, was the fact that, like, it's news that Jimmy Garoppolo, there's an outside chance that he could come back. But even that, like, that doesn't do much for me either, because I don't think he's going to come back into the game. He'll come in as a backup, I think.
Yeah.
If they stop this train rolling with Purdy, that'd be like one of the biggest mistakes I think that Shanahan can make right now. Not when this team's scoring 35 points a game almost. So, yeah, I'm with the quarterbacks right now. I'm not making too much of it. No one knows Tom Brady's future. Derek Carr Derek Carr is going to fit in anywhere, probably in the South, in the NFC South. His twang is going to really start to thicken his accent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh man, I love it out here, man.
He'll start if he goes to the Saints. He'll sound like Daniel Craig in the Knives Out movies. Well, I believe a murder has been done.
Well, I think that Chris Olave would be a good wide receiver for me. What have
Oh man, we'll be sticking together like hot butter on a July summer.
Well, this play calling is you think you're smart. It's just dumb. All of it is dumb. Everything you're saying is dumb. It doesn't make any sense.
I didn't care for the sequel.
I thought it was good. It was enjoyable. He made it. He made the sequel, I thought.
I'm kind of getting tired of that character
already.
It's a little too much.
Well, it's going to be pretty common now. I'm sure they're making a third one already.
Oh, of course. But, Daniel Craig, great actor, but he does sound like he's doing like a Foghorn Leghorn impression.
A little bit. Yeah, it's not that good. I know that he works hard on it, but it's like, dude, you play James Bond. Like, you're English. You are quintessentially British. You can't just go from being quintessentially British for a series of movies and all of a sudden you're quintessentially this dude from Georgia, like in the next series of movies, like it don't work that way, but no. It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. Like I've been saying, we'll see what happens with Derek Carr as the Super Bowl approaches. There will be a deadline. I'll be interested to see what happens, but I guess from what Schefter was saying that, there will be a lot of teams interested in Derek Carr. So we'll see what happens with that. As far as Jimmy Garoppolo and everything, yeah, from what it sounds like, he'll back up Brock Purdy. But we'll see how Brock plays tomorrow. It's very interesting what's going to happen with this playoff game, because I don't think Brock Purdy's faced a defense quite like this. I understand he played the Buccaneers, he played the Dolphins. Those are good teams, playoff teams somewhat. But this is a true test. And I think at some point we have to see Brock Purdy not be comfortable and how he's going to react to that.
I get that. But, dude, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm like stewing over the Niners over the week and kind of just like how good they are and like just their talent. And I don't know if stewing is the right word. Stewing more has a negative connotation to it, more just thinking about it. But like how good this 49ers offense is, like, man, it's hard to imagine any team stopping them. And I was thinking about this Cowboys matchup, and I know there's the motivation from last year. You got that, they got that edge to them. it just feels like the Cowboys have to play a perfect game in order to beat the 49ers. And the Niners have proven, or they have to hope that the Niners somehow make some sort of mistake in a crucial situation, which they rarely do. They like something that doesn't go talked about too much is the lack of penalties when they're in a the lack of penalties they get with the blocking schemes that they have. Like so many teams, when they try to do something like they do, which is some sort of complicated outside zone blocking scheme where they line up the fullback in the slot and somehow make him a second level blocker. Like a lot of teams get called for ineligible man downfield or some sort of holding. There's always a lot of holdings, but the Niners don't get called for that. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They're a damn good football team.
Yeah.
I've kind of realized after watching these past 11 games, but like, as we mentioned, Christian McCaffrey unlocks everything. I just think that you're right. Purdy is going to face pressure, maybe like he hasn't seen in these next 2 weeks. It's not just the Cowboys. Like if they face the Eagles in the NFC Championship, which I think it's kind of primed to be that way. I might be giving away my picks already, but I think it's kind of primed to be that.
You ruined the damn tease.
I know, but the Eagles have a damn good pass rush too. So these next 2 games are going to be a huge test, but I just think Dallas is going to be I just think Dallas is going to the logistics don't play into their favor. This is their 4th straight road game. Like they're not getting a lot of rest. I saw some crazy they haven't played at home since January 19th. Or December 19th. They've been on the road this entire time.
But sometimes that motivates teams.
Maybe. Yeah, it could. And, the extra hours of rest and recovery, although like I get the whole 52 hours extra rest thing. But the Niners didn't know they were going to play the Cowboys till Monday night. So the preparation, like as far as the game planning for their opponent, that remains the same for both teams. Like the Cowboys already.
But they're prepping for both teams though.
For sure. And I agree with Ernie. Parsons is going to be a problem. He could be, but you never know if he gets overly emotional, has some stupid penalty, you know?
It could happen.
Like something that motivates the team. It's crazy. Like one little moment with Jonathan Abram seemed to motivate everything that happened throughout the second half. So
yeah, how about Kyle like knocking into a player? You see that?
Yeah. Kyle is we forget, man. He was a wide receiver at Texas at one point. This dude's got some edge to him. He's got some. And there was, did you hear him in the post-game presser? He says, "You feel me?" What kind of head coach says, "You feel me?"
Yeah, man. That's what Texas breeds, Steven.
I don't know. It's just, it's like, you feel me?
Yeah, no, it's been fun this week. It's been fun with the rivalry and everything. I will admit, not as a Niner fan, but just like I love NFL history, and Cowboys and Niners is huge.
Right.
And everything from the catch to the 90s to now, it's been fun. And the thing that's interesting, though, is that everybody brings up last wildcard game.
Right.
And yes, it's recent in our minds. It was a weird ending to a game where Dak Prescott, didn't know the rules as far as you can't spot the ball yourself. And the way that game ended and the referee over the loudspeaker saying the game is over. It was a close game, 6-point game. But here's the thing. Both teams are completely different. Year ago, the Niners had Jimmy Garoppolo and Elijah Mitchell running the ball. And Elijah Mitchell's still on the team, but it's going to be Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey playing for them. At the same time, the Cowboys, they were an offensive-oriented team a year ago. They were the number 1 scoring offense in all of football. They're not that anymore. I think losing Amari Cooper kind of loses their explosiveness a little bit. But I think they're a better football team. I think they're more of a defensive-oriented team now. And they're more focused on running the football. They have a good 1-2 punch with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. Don't know if this is going to be the case, but Danny White came out with this earlier in the week, and he said the Niners should expect to see a lot more Tony Pollard than Zeke Elliott this week, which I think is going to be the case. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup because while these two teams saw each other a year ago, they're completely different teams.
No, I agree. Though the quarterback is really what's changed, but the Niners, they got Christian McCaffrey. Like
Yeah.
that's the biggest difference. And I think that's going to make, I think that's the one that really trumps everything over this game. Like the Cowboys have gotten better. I remember last year thinking the Cowboys didn't have much of a chance, like even in Dallas's home stadium. I remember thinking that going into last year. This one I feel a little different, but as I just continue to watch these, replays and watch these games, it's like it just go down the just the game logs and the scores. It's, you could see like this average, whatever it is, like 32, 33 points per game, but outside of the one where they scored like 21, they have trouble not scoring 35 points per game now. So if Dallas could stop them, then great, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a Tony Pollard fan last week.
Even.
I'm a big Tony Pollard fan. I think Tony Pollard's great. I think that guy needs to be a number one somewhere. He deserves to
It'll
be
be
a
in
number one.
Dallas. It'll be in Dallas. This might be Zeke's last run with the Cowboys.
His yards per carry is like this. The averages, if you look at the total yards and the amount of carries that he's had compared to everyone else, like his yards per carry, it's just so much higher than a lot of these running backs here. He absolutely deserves to be a number one somewhere. But the Cowboys need something like a fumble return for a touchdown because they forced fumbles. They're number one in the league in forced fumbles. I think they forced 22, and they happen to recover like 17 of them, which is an excellent rate of actually recovering the fumbles that they do force. So I don't know, outside of like a fumble return for a touchdown or maybe some sort of pick six. I know Trevon Diggs has got some. It's always weird to me whenever we say this with cornerbacks, but he's got great ball skills. Like he's got hands. And if Purdy makes one of those throws, because we've seen some dropped interceptions from Purdy, for sure. Like a lot of dropped interceptions, some that could have gone the other way. So outside of that, like a huge defensive stand, I don't know, man. I'm trying hard to search for ways in which the Cowboys can actually compete. And if the two just play a clean game where not much happens, I think the 49ers roll them.
Roll them. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see it that way. And
Yeah.
we'll get to our picks a little later, but this Cowboy team is a little different. And I didn't, from when they were week one to looking like a team that couldn't move the ball at all offensively to then becoming more of a defensive-oriented team, I think they're pretty damn physical. And I've been listening to Micah Parsons this week, and I know talk is one thing. I'm listening to a lot of the sound bites from a lot of the teams playing this week.
Yeah.
And Micah Parsons sounds pretty confident and pretty focused. And I think it's always good to have a leader like that on your team as far as, playoff games going into them. It's also funny when Mike McCarthy goes on a radio show and doesn't know that the Cowboys are underdogs, which, I don't know if that's trying to motivate his team or whatnot, but that's also him just kind of like, giving into the fact that, so you're saying that we're underdogs, huh? Well, I guess we're all underdogs in a way,
Well, I don't know. If it wouldn't, like, if you're a coach, though, would you really want to look at that? Like, would you really want to look at who's favored, who's not? I don't think no point spreads.
What say again?
Do coaches know point spreads?
I don't think they give a shit.
Yeah.
I think if you ask Kyle that question, he probably would have said like, I don't care.
I'm trying to look it up too with Parsons, and I'm not saying that this is like going to be indicative of how it goes tomorrow, but I think like he's played in the past 2 weeks, he's played twice as many snaps as like the top two defensive ends on the 49ers, like more than Nick. Like this dude has played a lot of football lately, and it's really remarkable to watch. Like Nick Bosa has been fantastic. But he's also like, he hasn't played as many snaps as Parsons. The motor on that dude is unbelievable.
Well, that's a question I was going to ask you. Was you're probably going to have the two top candidates for Defensive Player of the Year playing tomorrow, and Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons, and they're different players. Obviously, Nick Bosa is a traditional pass rusher. Micah Parsons is probably the most versatile player I've seen in quite some time. He's Khalil Mack in some ways, where you line him up at defensive end, he's a good pass rusher. You can line him up as a linebacker in coverage. He probably will cover the Christian McCaffrey at times, but don't know if he's going to win that matchup. He may even line up against George Kittle. But who would you rather have? It's different because both guys are not the same. Like I said, Nick Bosa is a traditional 18 and a half sack 18 and a half sack pass rusher, while Micah Parsons is kind of a Swiss Army knife all around the defense.
That's a hard question. That's a really tough one because
there's no wrong answer either. I mean,
there
really is no right one either.
I just think that I haven't watched enough Micah Parsons to like come to a full opinion on that.
Fair.
I've watched a lot of Nick Bosa, and so the first answer that I'd give is Nick Bosa, but that also might be a disrespect to Parsons, who I've seen like, you know, in the big moments, but I haven't watched him like every single snap of every game this season, which I pretty much have with Nick Bosa. So I can't really say with full conviction who I'd rather take, because that would diminish what the other guy is doing, and that's Micah Parsons. But I will say, like, him, how often does it happen where a guy who is supposed to be your Mike linebacker, your middle linebacker, gets moved to edge rusher?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how often does that really happen? And when he was playing middle linebacker, he wasn't terrible. Like, he wasn't a bad middle linebacker. They just thought he'd be more effective coming off the edge, which turned out to be true. So I don't know. I mean, my first thought would be Nick Bosa, but what about you? Do you have an opinion on this one?
I don't really know if there is like I said, a right or a wrong answer. I think that both guys are very different in what they do, and they're very great at what they do. But I do believe that Micah Parsons brings something that may give the Cowboys more of an edge as far as just being all over the field. And I think that he is going to cause problems with Brock Purdy. I'm not going to give you away what I think is going to happen, but I do think that this will be the toughest assignment that Brock Purdy has had as a quarterback yet. And I think a matchup that we're really downplaying, not really a matchup, but just something that hasn't been talked about enough, I think, is Dan Quinn knowing Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
And I know that that was the case last year as well. And I think, you know, to be completely honest, usually the more physical team wins, I think, in a playoff game. And I think that that was the case last year. The Niners were just the more physical team than the Cowboys. They kicked their ass. I think there's a good chance that they're equal parts physical as Niners and Cowboys. That pass rush, even though there wasn't a ton of sacks against Tom Brady last week, they were causing a lot of problems. So I believe, and there hasn't been a few instances of Dan Quinn playing Kyle Shanahan since he left Atlanta. I want to say, I guess the one I do remember that wasn't last year between the Cowboys and Niners in the wildcard game was that game in 2019 where the Falcons were kind of shitty, but they kind of won more games towards the stretch. And the Falcons end up beating the Niners on that Julio Jones play that was at the 1 yard line that got overturned and everything.
Right.
So Dan Quinn, you know, he's probably going to get a head coaching job the next couple of weeks here. We'll see if he keeps coaching with the Cowboys, if they keep playing. But I think that if anyone knows Kyle Shanahan's offense pretty well, it's him. And I got to believe that he's going to cause problems for Brock Purdy. That's not going to make it as easy as it has been in the last, 6 starts for him as at quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, you could be right. And I don't know, but like to me, sometimes maybe the coaching will get to you, but to me, the talent just supersedes.
No,
it.
of course.
Sometimes there's just nothing you could do to stop McCaffrey. That's like the one guy I'm zeroing in on. It's just McCaffrey. He makes all the difference in the world. Like I really think that 66-yard run that he had against the Seahawks, like it changed everything. It really did to me. So I do think that's going to be an interesting one. I'm just looking at the Cowboys secondary. Jeez. Hell of a job drafting in the late rounds. Their safeties are both from the 6th and 7th round, and then their other quarters from like the 6th round too. It's crazy. And then Trayvon Diggs is a 2nd rounder, but Deron Bland, 5th rounder. Jaron Kearse,
he's not bland when he plays.
7th rounder. Donovan Wilson, 6th rounder back in 2019. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, they've done a great job with their defense. Not a lot of household names. I mean, you got DeMarcus Lawrence on the line. You got Micah Parsons, obviously. Then you got a lot of guys that are like later draft picks that they have just done a very good job at.
Mm.
The one thing I do worry about, I did see Xavier Rhodes playing a lot against the Buccaneers,
Oof.
and he just got there. If he's assigned to, you know, a significant amount of snaps, that I think is not going to bode well. He's not the same player he used to
Oh
be.
no, Rhodes is terrible. He
Terrible. Wow.
not terrible, but I mean it's been a long time since he had those battles with like Antonio Brown, a part of the
Yeah.
Steelers, when him and Antonio Brown like grew up together, which was pretty cool. But Xavier Rhodes certainly not the same player. You know, I saw something where
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
God, on the roads again.
Oh God, that was terrible.
I know. Well, I saw something where like I don't know how true this is, and I don't know, like we all go crazy, or we don't go crazy. We all kind of rail against PFF, Pro Football Focus, because they don't know what they're talking about. But all of a sudden, when DVOA is brought into it by the Football Outsiders, then we take everything they say into account and at whatever. But like I saw something where the Cowboys DVOA to number 2 wide receivers is 30.
Hold on. What? Okay. Sorry. This is where football is getting into baseball with the stats and everything. What the hell's DVOA?
DVO. I gotta look it up again. What it means. I love it, but it's like it's Football Outsiders method of evaluating like success on the play, on every play. I don't even know what it stands for.
This is like when ESPN came up with the QBRs, like just random stats.
I think it's like defensive value over average or something like that is what it originally
sounds
was.
right. That adds up with the letters.
But somehow, I don't know. It's really taken everything by storm. And anyway, we all like look at DVOA, right? Which it can be good, but yeah, they said the Cowboys DVOA with number 2 wide receivers is 32nd in the league. So like it means they cover the number 1 receiver at an elite level, and then the number 2 wide receiver at a porous level as like the worst team in the league. But my question was, who's the number 1 between Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel? Like, is Deebo Samuel the number 1 receiver?
No.
Is that who you'd count as the number 1? I was thinking about that because
number 1 is Kittle.
Yeah, that's true. I remember seeing like somebody comment on it saying like, well, Brandon Ayuk's about to go off then, or something like that. But I'm like, is Brandon Ayuk the number 2? I don't know if he's the number 2.
This is the way I would rank it as far as receivers on the Niners. Just as far as who's looking to get the ball, not based on talent or anything. It goes Kittle, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Deebo. As far as receiver, I can understand that. I mean, like we would talk about it the whole offseason, and we talk about it now. I can understand the Niners' hesitancy to give him the contract because he is not a great all-around wide receiver. He is fantastic with the ball in his hands. As you saw last week, how long was that touchdown catch? 73 yards?
74,
and,
yeah.
And most of it was on the yak, the
Right.
yards after the catch. He is a great return. I shouldn't say return guy. He is just a great athlete with the ball in his hands, and he's able to run very well. That's why he's so good with running the football, and that's why Kyle's so great at putting McCaffrey in the backfield with Deebo. But as far as a pure wide receiver, Ayuk's better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's even close.
I agree. And when you look at the, I got to pull up the numbers here one more time. Yeah, 133 yards. 133 yards for Deebo in that last game. 6 receptions. He led with targets, which I was totally wrong about. I said because it was going to be a rainy day game. I said that he was going to get like I said he was probably going to get more carries than he was going to get targets. So I was dead wrong on that. But 6 for 133. So you do the math there. 26 plus 33, that's 59 yards. So really he had, outside of that big catch and run, he had 5 receptions for 59 yards, which is fine, you know, but Brandon Ayuk 3 for 73.
It's fine.
Yeah, I don't, it's fine. But like, I don't know. I think I just saw a lot of people saying Brandon Ayuk's going to go off. I'm like, I don't know if Deebo's even the number 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, We shall see.
That's the
It
question.
is.
Who's the number 2? I think Ayuk was just getting all these open opportunities. This man, like, it's death, taxes, and Brandon Ayuk crossing over the middle of the field, just wide open off a play action pass because both linebackers bid on the run fake. Like,
So if you're Trayvon Diggs, who are you guarding then though?
I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to watch, man. It's going to be a good. It could be a good matchup. It could, and maybe the defense could give them fits.
I
But man, I don't know. If both teams just play a relatively clean game and the Niners continue to play the way they're playing, kind of disciplined, mostly mistake-free football, then it could be bad.
we shall see. I think it's the most interesting game on the docket. Real quick before we start picking these games,
Oh.
I want to do like we did last week, a little key factors in each of these games.
Ooh, look at you.
So, Jags and Chiefs.
Uh-huh.
Interesting game. It's going to come happen at 1:30 today. And a lot of people are like, oh, the Jags should just be happy they're in this game in the first place. You know, with Trevor Lawrence, I think they have a shot. And they played earlier this year. It was a 27-17 game where the Chiefs had a big old lead, and then the Jags came back into it.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see if the Jags are willing to play in the snow, because it sounds like it's going to snow in Kansas City.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And Florida teams in the cold, you don't really think they're going to do very well, because historically they have it. But it's just a matter of, if Doug Peterson get these guys ready to go in the cold, and I think that it might be a closer game than people think, because I always say that when you play a team earlier in the season, you have better tape on them going forward. So I would say that it's going to be an interesting game between the Jags and Chiefs. We'll pick the game later on, but it's the biggest factor to me is will they be able to handle the snow if it does snow? It sounds like it will.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know it was going to snow. I mean, mine was
sounds like a 30% chance. It looks like
mine was going to be how the Jaguars are going to handle Travis Kelce. I'm pretty sure their numbers against tight ends are not very good. If I recall correctly, I could be wrong on that, but I think the Jaguars' defense against tight ends has been terrible this year. So I'd be interested to see how Travis Kelce works out. And I also want to see, like, they've had a week off. Both teams haven't lost since December 4th. I want to see if Jerick McKinnon still plays the role that he's been playing, which is like he's been their number one running back for these past few games, like really for the entire month of December. Jerick McKinnon has been like a revelation almost within that offense. I want to see if he continues to do that. And then, I don't know, the Jaguars are riding high. I think people are going to be, I don't know if it's going to be a close game, but I think the Jaguars are going to put up some points, maybe make things interesting. But ultimately, I think in the fourth quarter, I think the Chiefs are going to pull this one away.
And Clyde Edwards-Helaire sounds like he's coming back today as well. So they got all three of their running backs. I guess all four. Do they use Ronald Jones too? Maybe not.
No, not too much. RJ2 or whatever his name is.
They may use him now though, considering that it may be bad weather and all.
Yeah, I don't know, man. And it's also like we haven't even mentioned this. It's Andy Reid coming off a bye. Is there any head coach who's had more talked about coming off a bye than Andy Reid? Like this dude,
Belichick, but yeah.
I mean, this dude just, he game plans everything. I don't know. Doug Peterson's been fantastic. It was an awesome moment. It's pretty funny. If you watch the mic'd up at the end of the game, he's like, "Do you believe in miracles?" to his coach, which was really funny because Al Michaels did not do that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's been well documented that Al Michaels kind of
he's gone from "Do you believe in miracles" to "Oh, there's a flag on the ground."
Yeah, he's sleepwalking during games. Like I said, he's going through the Al Pacino, Jack and Jill phase of his career now.
Right.
Can't get enough of my Dunkachino.
Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sidetracking us here. This is something random that I heard. It's not. It's an opinion that I heard, and it's just their opinion, man. But it's from Boomer and Gio, the guy Gio. I don't know his full name. I think he's like WFAN out there.
Gino Carmazzi.
But he and
that's not him. But
I think he's hilarious. He's got this impression of Mad Dog Russo, which is just all time. But
Boomer Esiason though.
No, not Boomer. But he said something like he was talking about Greg Olson and how Greg Olson is just so dull, and he makes you think what he's saying is smart, but really anyone could see what he's talking about.
Mm.
And I'm like, that's kind of true. I guess I haven't really learned as much with Olson, but
Yeah, but he's just solid on TV though.
I mean, he's okay. He's eloquent and all that, but I realized like, I haven't really learned much, I guess, when I'm watching the game with him.
Well, really, I mean, do you learn anything from Troy Aikman?
Sometimes, yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
I think Collinsworth teaches you more than Aikman does.
Oh, I think so too. I think Collinsworth is right up there. But see what Collinsworth does? He just pays attention to the offensive line and the defensive line. He doesn't watch the throw. Like you'll find Troy Aikman pays attention to the quarterback. No, he'll say he won't give you much other than look at this throw. Whoa. But like when he's watching the offensive line, like that's what he does. He watches the trenches.
No, he does. But I've
look at this block here.
No, but I've also seen Collinsworth be like, this guy's delivery is slow. He's got to get that ball out there faster.
Right.
I think he was talking about Blake Bortles. If I remember a couple of years ago, he was talking about how slow his delivery was. But yeah, I mean, I would say so. Who's saying this? It's the other guy, not Boomer Esiason?
Not Boomer, Gio.
Yeah, because Boomer shouldn't be talking about anybody in the broadcast booth.
I don't think Boomer stayed silent. I don't think Boomer like really.
Good call, Boomer, because I remember back in the day when he was doing the analyst work with Al Michaels, and they did not get along. But if there's anybody we learned from in the broadcast booth, it's Tony Dungy. He teaches us a lot. Moving on.
I'm looking at this litter box in my apartment right now. Man, it's like I just stole it from the local elementary school. That's how we got the litter box. Good Lord.
Oh God. I forget what we were talking about.
We were talking about the Jags and the Chiefs.
Oh yeah, Jags and Chiefs. The big thing about the Jags, I would say, is that they can't. What they've been doing lately, with I mean, they're the cardiac cats. They kind of go. Basically, they don't do well in the first half, and then they show up in the second half and win games, and it's been successful for them. But I don't know if they can do that today. Definitely can't do that today. You can't be down 27-0 to the Chiefs because then they'll just keep piling it on.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I think it's all a matter about the weather with the Jaguars and whether or not they win this game and celebrate with another Waffle House visit. You ever been to the Waffle House, Steven?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Don't really remember the experience, but yeah.
Oh yeah, it's usually a 2 a.m. drunken state type of thing.
It was after a wedding. It was fantastic,
nice.
But don't really remember too much.
How about Mahomes? Did you hear his response when he was told that Trevor Lawrence went to the Waffle House?
What do you say? He puts ketchup on his chicken and waffle?
No, he was just like, "Oh, that's a pretty baller move right there."
Look, I like Mahomes, man. He's an odd individual. I think he's known as like the best quarterback, but in the NFL. But man. Like he's an interesting dude. I've read some articles on him, like with how competitive he really is. Like it's literally a competition with every single thing that he does. I think he's one of those athletes that's one of those just real, like true jocks, except he's smart. Like he's not like an egghead. He's not like a dude from like Revenge of the Nerds or anything, but like he's an interesting individual. He's funny, man. He makes me laugh. I don't know. Like the thing where they were playing the Seahawks and one of his and he has that touchdown in the end zone where he runs and dives and manages to go like full extension and gets it over the pylon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's like a coach that walks up to him and he's like, "Hey, Gino's faster than you," and he's like, "Yeah, but like if I run I need someone chasing me. It's that scared speed. It's that fear." And he's like, "I'd run a 4.4 if I had someone chasing me in my 40." Like it's just these little things that he says. It makes me laugh.
He's a funny guy.
That was a good impression, right? That was a really good one. I think.
It was solid.
Let's go. We got to make it in here, boys. We got to win.
Yeah, your voice is basically what they make fun of him with. Was it the Bleacher Report little cartoons they do?
Yeah.
Yeah. My impression of Mahomes just sounds like Collinsworth, like I was doing earlier. Oh, here's a guy that I love ketchup.
Hey, we call that play the bath bomb. We call that play the bath bomb because of the commercial bath bomb.
Oh my God, I don't mind the Whopper 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 Burger King song, but I could do without the State Farm commercials. There's just too many of them. You okay
You were
there?
you what?
I would rather listen to the Burger King song.
That's a terrible take. I know
You
this is
re-
just your
you would
this
you
is
would
just
rather
your I know
you
this
would
is
rather
just your
watch
opinion.
Jake. Hold on.
I know
You
this is just your opinion, man, but your opinion stinks when it comes to that one.
so you would rather watch Jake and that bland commercial every time than Burger King song?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're sorry, but you're out of your fucking mind.
I would watch that. I would watch Scoop There It Is a billion times. I would watch the one Geico one where with the repetitive family expired. I'd
No.
watch that one. I'd watch
What about the Jesus
anything.
commercials?
The Jesus commercials.
You see those Jesus ads during NFL playoff games?
What Jesus ads? You mean the
Jesus
Gagillionaire ones? I am
saves.
the Oracle. You mean that one?
No, and that just shows how much we pay attention to commercials. No, there's seriously like a Jesus like saves ad during NFL playoff games now.
Huh.
It's like I didn't know what I was doing with my life. Blah, 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 blah. Jesus saves.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I mean,
Tony Dungy probably is paying for those ads. Um, no, you're out of your mind. Jake from State Farm, he brings nothing. The Burger King commercials, I get hyped every time.
and though I
Dance in my
agree,
living room
and though I
by
agree,
myself.
and though I agree with you, like at least Mahomes is slightly funny, but like the
The
Whopper,
bath bomb thing sucks. I do like Andy Reid with the hey, I draw on people's faces when they're sleeping.
yes,
That's fine, but give me some songs, damn it.
no, the,
BK, have it. You were singing it a week ago.
it's awful.
What do you mean it's awful?
It's awful. I was singing it the way that like I sang Rebecca Black's Friday when it came out. I was singing it because it was in my head because it was everywhere. Didn't enjoy it. I got something in my eye as I was mid talking. Also,
right.
Rebecca Black, actually kind of a sick artist. She came out with a new album. It's pretty cool. Dead serious.
Moving on to the other games.
Check it out.
I won't. Giants Eagles. Basically, will the rust of the Giants come into play with having the bye week? And is Jalen Hurts 100% healthy? Is my question. Are we gonna see the same old Eagles? Because they've been in a little of a funk lately. Obviously, with losing a couple games while Jalen Hurts has been out, and that game where the Giants played all their backups and the Eagles struggled a little bit, but they still won the game to get the 1 seed. You know, it may be that the Giants were facing a Vikings team with the defense being terrible, and they fired their defensive coordinator, the Vikings, Ed Donatel. But now we'll see if the Eagles are at full strength, if they look like the Eagles of most of the season, or if the Giants just know how to, prepare against them while playing them a third time this season.
I think it's the second thing you mentioned. I think that the Vikings defense was just terrible. And even though I do give credit
You don't
for
like this Giants team a lot, huh?
I just think that we get so high on them after that one when really toward the end of the season they looked terrible. Like they did not look like a winning team to me. Like I did, and I was wrong against the Vikings, but now that they're playing the Eagles, I don't see it happening. I don't see them making it look nearly as comfortable as the Vikings made it look for Jones. Like that dude was doing whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
And I think that the Vikings run game was fine, but I think the Eagles are like with Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert at tight end, AJ Brown, the weapons that they have on offense. I think it's going to be too much for the Giants, but maybe they'll make it a close game. I don't think I'm not willing to call it and say that the Eagles are going to blow them out after 1 week off. And, and to your point about Jalen Hurts possibly being, hurt, I saw something like a video where he's kind of not willing to like fall on his shoulder or like kind of laboring a little bit. And I was like, oh, that doesn't look too good. I don't know. Maybe that's just a strategy to make it look, like he's not fully healthy. Yeah.
There was a rumor out there before the injury came out that he broke his collarbone. I don't know if
Mm,
that's legitimate at all because if that were the case, he'd be out for the season.
mm.
Um, but they did take him off the injury report fully. So everyone's saying that he is fully healthy from that shoulder injury. We'll see today because he was limited in that Giants end of the season game. They did not use him in the running game whatsoever. So if they want to be the dynamic, explosive offense that they've been showing for most of the season, it's got to be Jalen Hurts at full strength today. So we shall see about that one as well. Then for the tomorrow games, we got the Bengals and Bills. And you think this game should be played at a neutral site?
No.
Here's my thing. The Bengals, if they won that game with the DeMar Hamlin situation, if they would have won that game, they would have leapfrogged the Bills. And they would be the 2 seed, maybe the 1 seed if the Raiders would have beat the Chiefs. Um, but I think with not playing that game and the fact that the Bengals have more losses than the Bills, I guess it's fair. I tell you what's bullshit though. Them selling tickets to that potential AFC Championship game in Atlanta next week, and it sold a lot of tickets. But if this is going to be what the NFL wants to do going forward, you're out of your mind. I think that the whole point of having the 1 seed in the playoffs is to host the conference championship game. If you're going to take
Right.
that away from fans, that's bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why the 49ers were fighting for the 2 seed, was because they at least wanted home field advantage somewhere. And maybe that's different from what you're talking about. Maybe this should have been played at a neutral site, actually. Um,
No, well, it's
it's
going to be
just,
special tomorrow because I think DeMar Hamlin's going to be there probably,
yeah,
and it's going to be special. It's eerie to have this game. It's a playoff game, but it's going to happen. 3 weeks after what happened.
right.
So, um, neutral site out of the equation. It's going to be very fascinating to see this game actually be played. Um, Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, the first time they'll face off. Um, and I think it's going to be the biggest factor to me is the fact that the Bengals are going to miss Jonah Williams and Alex Kappa.
Right.
And I think that will be huge. If Von Miller was playing in this game,
Uh-huh.
I don't think I think he wrecks havoc. But the fact that he's not playing, they still have Shaq Lawson and a couple of other guys on the defensive line, but I think that's going to be the key factor. And also, did the Bills' lackadaisical attitude against the Dolphins last week kind of light a fire under their ass? Because they won that game, and yes, it's a divisional rival and everything, but
Yeah.
they fucked around a little bit too much for my liking.
Yeah, yeah, just a little bit. I think that I mean, you also got to give the Dolphins a little bit of credit because they managed to at least force mistakes and force fumbles and all that and make sure to get those and get those interceptions. Those are not easy interceptions to make. I think the Bills are certainly going to play a little more of a what's the word? I guess more of a, for lack of a better term, a tighter game, I guess.
Okay.
Something where there's less, just where there's less options for them to flail the football around. But you're right about the offensive line. Like, I don't know how the offensive line is going to look for the Bengals. Are they going to just make Joe Burrow kind of look like Joe Burrow back in the Super Bowl where he's getting wrecked? Is he going to be able to overcome that? He seems very confident. They do have their 3 wide receivers, and the linebackers on the Bills are fantastic. Edmonds and Milano are awesome. So I want to see how they dial up blitzes there. I think they're going to try to do that a lot today and fool that offensive line. So that's going to be really the key for me. And I'm saying that because of the mic'd up. Actually,
You loved your mic. So hold on.
mic'd up. It opens up another part of the game, another aspect of the game that
Oh,
not
of course.
everyone sees, Derek.
Well, believe me, sir, I am a NFL films junkie. So, but here's my question: where's this being played now? Because NFL Network, they don't do that shit anymore. So is it just being played on Twitter now with clips?
No, they have YouTube where they have the entire thing from each week. Game Day All Access is what it's called.
Okay.
And they have
I
like a playlist
I
of it.
well, of course, if you watch Inside the NFL, they do that shit too. I think that's one of my favorite things about that show. I don't watch it as much as I used to because I don't have Showtime anymore. But I would love not so much the analyst work, but the in between segments where they show the NFL films.
Yeah.
Little 5 minute videos of the last week's previous game. But I missed that about They used to do NFL Films Presents and NFL Game of the Week, and they used to do like a whole full hour of that game, NFL film style, and we don't get that anymore. Sad.
Can I show you like one quick thing with Tremaine Edmonds though? Because he was
Show me,
on,
sir.
he,
Show
he
me.
was on it, and like I don't know, it's going to go really quick. But I saw this and I was like, wow, that's a cool shot. Just watch this.
So you saw what happened last night. It don't matter, but it's the playoffs.
Hang on, not this one, not this one. It'll come. Here we go. This one.
Tremaine Edmonds lowers the boom. Incomplete.
I gotta watch this more because this is the shit I miss.
Oh man, like that shot of Sean McDermott just right there. I don't know. That's kind of what that made me think. Damn, Matt Milano when he's healthy. They had issues when he wasn't. He was hurt for a little bit.
Yeah,
and they missed him. So yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest factor is how they dial up blitzes.
and we've been talking about this game for most of the show, but Cowboys or 49ers, basically, can Brock Purdy keep doing the same things that he's been doing against this Cowboys defense?
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately it. Look, man, it's not the I don't know, the Cowboys are not going to win this game to me unless there's the 49ers just make mistakes, fumble the football, I don't know, something drastic happens. Whereas like for the Cowboys, yeah, they need to get like a fumble return for a touchdown or like a pick six or something that sways the momentum of the game, because when the momentum swings in the Niners' favor, they do not let up. So yeah, I don't know. The key for me is just the 49ers. Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Like you're playing damn near perfect football. So just keep doing what you're doing. Cowboys, you got to make something happen as far as like a turnover, takeaway, whatever. And they're the best in the league at doing that. Again, like I mentioned. So yep, that's the key.
Yeah. By the way, so I'm just curious, which in this game, who do you give the edge to quarterback wise? Because Brock Purdy's playing fantastic, but do you give the edge to Dak just because he's been playing longer?
I think Dak's a better quarterback than a lot of people give him credit for.
I agree.
I saw the graphic that the NFL Network put up earlier this week where they had like the 5 categories between Dak and Brock, and it was like they gave they gave the edge to Purdy in decision making, accuracy, and I forgot what the other one was. And then of course they gave Dak the better arm and better athleticism. And there's obviously unconscious racial undertones when graphics like that are made, because I don't think yes, I give the edge to Dak because he's played longer. It's just I think it's a disrespect to Dak to not say that he's better than him in all of those categories. Maybe not the accuracy one. I've seen Dak be an inaccurate quarterback, and Purdy has, but I think it's a disrespect to even try to compare the two right now.
I get that. I will say that Brock is playing better football lately just because of Dak's high interception totals. But then again, I was watching before we started doing this thing about how Kurt Warner was talking to Dak Prescott, and he was talking about how each interception has its own story. And Kurt Warner was talking about, I think it was a tweet earlier this week where he was saying, I had an MVP season where I threw 22 interceptions. The way that we view interceptions now is just ridiculous in how demanding the media is when it's like, oh, he threw a pick. The picks happen. It just happens with quarterback stats. I know it's a different game now, but you look at the 80s and the 90s. Brett Favre had a ton of MVP seasons where he threw 16. Peyton Manning too. There's like Dan Fouts had seasons like pretty good, like all pro seasons where he threw 22 touchdowns and 23 interceptions, and that was the norm back in the day.
Right.
So I think we got on Derek Carr for the amount of interceptions he threw this season as well. But I think, and that was just another story. Like we went through it last podcast with the whole thing with Josh McDaniels. But I think that we as media don't have a tolerance for interceptions anymore, and I think that Dak's a very good quarterback. He still has room to improve, I believe, but I think Brock Purdy's playing better lately. But you give the advantages to Dak as far as arm strength and everything. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I just think I think Dak's a very disrespected player. I think
It's because he plays for the Cowboys and everybody likes to shit on the Cowboys too.
I think he's a damn good quarterback. I mean, I don't know. You look at the top guys in interceptions. Dak, Davis Mills, that was not good. Davis Mills 17 and 15. Damn.
Yeah.
Cousins, Carr, Josh Allen, Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers with 12. That's very uncharacteristic. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow.
Just
So
think about
really,
that. 12. I
So-
don't think that's even that much.
so really, top 10 in interceptions. Like a lot of them are top tier quarterbacks. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are right there. So it happens. I agree. I don't know, man. I see Dak have a game like he had last week, and it serves as a reminder. Like this dude can be a really, really good quarterback. So
I agree.
I don't know. I give the edge to Dak in that one. Kind of the same way like the rookie of the year gives the edge to the other rookies. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. Speaking of Josh McDaniels, before we pick these games,
Ooh.
did you see this story about
Tim Irsay?
why? Yes.
Yeah.
So Dan Dockage, who you can take his inside scoops, he believes, or he was told, that he has great knowledge of the situation. The reason that Josh McDaniels did not take the Colts job when he did initially agree to the job was because his wife was creeped out by Jim Irsay in a situation where he came to their house and supposedly was in the bathroom for a long and awkward amount of time. Now, I don't know what that means. What would let's say I came to your house, Steven. I'm hanging out with you and Jesse, and I'm in your bathroom. How long until you knock on the door and be like, Derek, you okay in there?
Oh, 10 minutes. Yeah. 8 to 10 minutes
8 to 10 minutes?
is when I'd knock. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it's rude to take a shit in someone else's house?
I don't think it's rude. You got to go. You got to go. I've infamously clogged my friend's toilet once. Still never lives it down. I was like, we were like 10, but
Yeah.
you know,
Did you have to plunge it yourself?
no, that his dad.
That's the worst. Like wake him up, like you guys like up, like doing whatever, and have to wake up the dad. Can you?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like Jim Irsay had to shit. Like Harry Dunn.
Yeah. Maybe he was giving some
And
X-Lax,
music.
or what was he doing? I mean, is there something else involved?
Well, what are you implying?
Well, why do people go to the bathroom in guest houses sometimes? You know?
Explain yourself.
Well, think about it. I mean, Jim Irsay is known for being a kind of outlandish individual. Do you really think it was like just because he was taking a poop?
Are you suggesting what they did on Pat McAfee?
What'd they suggest on Pat McAfee?
I don't get too graphic here, but he took a poop and then had to clean his pipes.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. This is it's a weird situation, man. But
I would we'll play this Joey Molinaro clip in a little bit here, but I would love to hear it just like, hey Jim, you okay in there? I'm okay. He's such a weird guy. He's oh god. Yeah, I think that happened probably, but also I wouldn't see that stopping Josh McDaniels from taking that job.
Yeah, it feels like it's more than just doing a number 2. Like I think that's okay if they did a number 2. I think there's more to being done in that bathroom than just a number 2.
God, that'd be crazy. Just give me a second. I'm talking to Peyton.
Stop it. Stop it. That's terrible.
Yeah, I know. I think he took that job because he realized that Andrew Luck was not looking for the long-term future for playing with the Colts.
Maybe it's a weird situation though, just to like up and leave the job last second.
Hey, why did who's the assistant? Why did Kenny Atkinson not go with the Hornets?
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes you just know when shitty situations on the horizon.
Yeah.
And in this case, Jim Irsay had a shitty situation at Josh McDaniels' house. All right, let's pick these games, Steven.
Oh, thought you wanted to play this thing.
We will. Want to play that
All right.
last?
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Let's
Yeah.
pick these games, the little thing we do called wins or wangs, or sometimes cayenne pepper.
Yeah, it really impacted you for a minute.
I mean, I don't. If I kept eating wings like the hot wings I usually do, I'd have my own Jim Irsay situation. All right, let's do this, Steven. So starting today, we got 2 games and then 2 games tomorrow, and it starts with the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs are 9-point favorites with an over/under of 53. Gotta stay away from those unders. All right, Steven, how do you see this game going?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to stay away from this under. I'm going to take the under here. I think that the
Wow,
I'm
and you
gonna-
give me shit.
I'm going to lay the points with the Chiefs. I really think it's just going to be I really don't see this being that entertaining of a game, to be honest with
Wow.
you. Yeah, in the end, I don't. The Jags are a great story. I love what they've done. But Doug Peterson, I think, normally he'd get the edge over a lot of head coaches, but not over Andy Reid coming off a bye week.
Yeah.
I think they're going to stop the Jags with whatever they're doing. And I saw this great breakdown from the end of the Jags-Chargers game with that run from ETN, where it's like, I was backing up Staley last week because of what he's done with the defense. But, I mean, there's 2 instances where he's trying to set the edge, essentially, with a cornerback, and it's just not going to work out. Like, I think Andy Reid's a little smarter than that. Him, Steve Spagnuolo, and, oh, good Lord, why am I Eric Bieniemy? I think these guys are, I think they're just going to roll them. I could see this being like a 33-13 game, like something along those lines.
Well, I mean, Doug Peterson and Andy Reid know each other very well, so that could play a factor. But I am going to go the same as you, except I'm going to go over. I'm going to learn my lesson from last week because that's what did me in. But I just don't think it's, 9 is too small for me. I do think the Chiefs win by 2 touchdowns, but I do think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I do think that Trevor Lawrence won't be affected by the cold. I just think that the Chiefs pull away in the end. But I do think it's going to be a little closer. I know it'll be a 14-point game, in my opinion, but I do think it's going to be like a competitive game for the most part.
All right.
Then we got the Giants, the G-men, going to the Eagles, and the Eagles are 7.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 48.
Yeah, this is a tough one, too.
I know.
As far as the over-under, 48's a high number.
It's a tough one in general, just because division rivals. The Giants got a little steam. Eagles have looked a little rusty lately.
Yeah. When I look at that number, I'm thinking under there, so I am going to go under.
Look at you taking the unders now.
Yeah, I know. And I think the Eagles win, but the Giants cover that number.
Good call. I think that the Eagles know how bad they played against the Giants a couple weeks ago. And if Jalen Hurts is at full strength, then I don't see any limitations of how this offense should play. It's just a question of whether or not a year ago Jalen Hurts was wildly inaccurate against the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And I think that with the season he's had today, I think that he should light him up. And I think that Philly defense gets all of their guys back. They'll get Robert Quinn. They'll get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So I think it should be, and I want to say Josh Sweat's coming back too today. So I think it's going to be an interesting game for the Eagles. I think the Philly crowd will get into it. So I'm going to go Eagles. I'm going to lay the points with them, and 48. If the Eagles will score a lot of points, I'm going to go over. And I am dreading unders lately, so I'm going to go over on that one.
Fair enough. And so, and by the way, December 11th, the Eagles held Barkley to just 9 attempts for 28 yards. That was back in December.
And that was the 48-22 game?
Yeah. When was the second time they played?
Last week 18.
Really?
Yeah, it was, what was it, 22-16?
Why am I missing out on this? Huh. It's not a part of his game logs. Interesting. Anyway.
Oh, because Barkley didn't play.
Ah, that's right. Okay. Gotcha.
And then we got the Bengals at the Bills. The Bills are 5.5-point favorites, and the over/under is at 49.
Yeah, just give me the. I'm gonna take the over in this one.
Okay.
This is an over game for me, and
just because of the 2 quarterbacks.
Just because of the 2 quarterbacks, I think it's going to be a shootout here. Although Joe Burrow could get destroyed, but I think he'll get at least a couple. I think they'll score. And what was the number you had?
5.5.
5.5. Yeah, I got 6. Gosh, that's a weird number. I don't just yeah, I think the Bills are going to win, but Bengals will cover.
I'm gonna go the same as you. I think that 5.5 is
a big number.
You're right. Yeah, it's a big number between these two teams, and I could also see it being a blowout. But I think for the sake of the two teams being competitive and knowing what they're up against, I'm gonna go Bills win, Bengals cover, and we get an over game.
Okay.
And then we're down to the showdown between the Cowboys and the Niners. This game, if you're trying to go to this game, I hope you have a credential, because it is, I guess, the highest ticket in town as far as a divisional round playoff game of all time.
You mean the hottest ticket in town?
Well, highest as far as, well, yeah, sure, hottest, whatever. I think it was up to like, I don't know the exact number, but it was like 14 grand maybe to get in this game. Yeah, it's expensive, and it's the lowest spread of all the games. Niners are favored by 4. Sorry to disappoint you, Mike McCarthy. And the over/under is 46.5.
Well, dude, that number's really gone down. It started with the Niners as 6-point favorites, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of money clearly coming in on Dallas. The juice going in on Dallas. That number's gone down. So I think they were right with the line that they set. So I'm going to lay the points with the Niners here. I think the Niners win this one. And you know, I think that the Cowboys are kind of looking for revenge. But I think it's going to be an over game. I mean, the Niners have been putting up 35 points damn near per game. So, yeah, 46, it feels like it's a lock to take the over.
So, people think that I'm a Niner hater, and I don't hate the Niners. I just sometimes get up with all the hype around them. And I'm trying to... People are going to think I'm crapping on the Niners with this pick. I just think it's going to be really hard for Brock Purdy to replicate what he's been doing the last 6 weeks against this Cowboys team. And I know that the Niners are very talented on their offense. And I know that they have a great defense. But I think at some point, Brock Purdy is going to come back to reality a little bit here. And I think it's going to be this week. And I think that he's been playing fantastic, but I don't think he's played a defense like this. And I think Micah Parsons is going to cause problems for him. I think that I do think that Dan Quinn, knowing Kyle Shanahan, is a huge deal. So, against my better judgment, because I've been going back and forth with this, I think that somehow, some way, the Cowboys stop the running game and force Brock Purdy to make deep throws that he's going to be a little rusty with. So, I am going to take the Cowboys to win, and I'm going to go under. And if I'm wrong, I will gladly say that, and I know I'll get a lot of shit for it, but I am going to take the Cowboys to win.
All right, fair enough. It's just like, the thing is, though, like, what if this is the reality for Purdy? Like, you know? Like you're saying he's coming back to reality.
I have no qualms saying that Brock Purdy is legit.
Yeah.
Now,
Michael Silver article, he might be...
I was just about to bring that up, that I still believe that, you know, even though I think that Kyle's into Brock Purdy more than Trey, I think that you got to still have an open competition.
I think it might be, but I don't know if they're gonna. I don't think it's gonna be like a real one. It's gonna be like,
I can't wait. Can't wait for that fodder.
It's gonna be an open competition because out of respect for Lance and where you picked him, and
kill that sound. We made the picks.
The fact that he's not what's it called? The fact that it's not his fault that he got injured, but man, they're putting up 35 points per game.
I know
Purdy's under center, and they're gonna have the same team next year. I think especially if they win this game, with how you've just mentioned, with how you've talked about it, you say that this defense is going to give them problems. I think if they win this one and Purdy continues to look like Purdy, then I think it's almost a done deal that he's the starter next year.
I hear that. And hey, Brock very well could do this. This is the hardest game to pick, in my opinion. I just think that, and this may just me being a guy based on the past, but I just had never seen a rookie quarterback do this. You know, like all of the best rookies in the past, Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan, Dan Marino, all lost in the playoffs. And I think Brock Purdy's very good, but I just can't see him going to the Super Bowl given the limitations and, not being a veteran quarterback. So I very well could be wrong. I'm actually expecting to be wrong, but I want to look smart too.
All right, fair enough.
So there's our picks, and it's gonna be a bunch of good games this weekend. Can't wait for everything with Divisional weekend. Before we get out of here, Joey Molinaro, a guy that I am envious of because he does everything that I wish I did more of, just mixing comedy and sports together, and he makes very good observations with his skits that I think of sometimes. I'm like, damn, beat me to it. You gonna say something?
No, I've just kind of looked at him differently since he had this moment with Barstool. Like, I don't know. Anyway, continue.
No, by all means.
No, it's just the way that he comes off, like during these arguments, he just comes off as really pretentious and I don't know. There's something about him. Like, he's great at these impressions, but there was like this moment of reality where it hit, and I'm like, geez, man. Like when his exit from Barstool, it just made me look at him a little differently. And I know Barstool's not like the pillar of morality, but the way that I saw him handle the exit, it was just like, oh my gosh. Anyway,
I'm actually not familiar.
Yeah, it was like this argument that he got into with these other guys. It's just the way these text exchanges, they posted all of them. It's just like, okay, all right,
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't,
no, nothing to apologize for. I actually don't know the whole situation.
Kind of gone off his videos since then. I'm just like, okay.
Well, that's
Anyway,
fair.
Let's do this one though.
I did see this one yesterday, and I think that this is hilarious, especially if you listen to the Niner broadcasts. I don't think it's a direct imitation of my father and Tim Ryan, but it's pretty hilarious.
The spot on.
I don't think he's making fun of them. I think it's just he's making fun of all of the puns that people do with Brock Purdy and everything. But if you listen to the radio broadcast, Tim and Greg do a lot of puns, so this made me laugh.
If the Ayuk one comes up,
oh, that throw wasn't just nice; it was Purdy. Niners up 10, and their offense looking pretty good. They dubbed him Mr. Irrelevant last April. Flash forward to January, and he's more relevant than Alex Earl. You're not on TikTok? San Francisco continues to say, Domo arigato, Mr. Relevento. Oh, and Brock's putting on his sweater. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, Mr. Relevant. John Lynch channeling his inner Michael Jackson, saying, I want to love you, PYT, pretty young thing. He throws it back to McCaffrey in the end zone. Touchdown! And now Run CMC, the newest member in the Brock and Roll Hall of Fame. Did someone call Waka Flocka? It's like a frat party in 2011 in here. It's a party, it's a party, it's a party. Oh, that's
pretty good.
Oh my gosh, that guy.
I'm getting the vibe you're not a fan.
I like him on some things. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he
Fair
does. I separate the art from the artist, I guess. And there was one where he did around Christmas, which really cracked me up. He was like played the rich guy at a Christmas party that nobody wants to talk to, which was actually like I watched it like 30 times. It was really funny. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but whatever. It's just my opinion.
Hey, man, it's just your opinion.
Plus, it's also like me being salty because he rejected my DM when I asked him to come on my show one time.
Oh, did he now?
Yeah, he didn't respond. He saw it, didn't respond.
As a lot of people do with the DMs.
Yeah.
Hey, Arian Foster didn't look at mine when I tried to book him for the show a couple weeks ago.
What was he, macro dosing or micro dosing or whatever
Probably.
he does on the podcast?
Hey, don't hate on him for that.
I don't hate him for it. It's the podcast he's on.
Like yeah.
Macro dosing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Awkward endings aside.
Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I did DM Joey a long time ago. I said, like, I gave him a congratulations for his success because, like, I saw it at first, so I DM'd him.
Oh my God. What did Who are you? He's like, thanks.
Yeah. I don't know.
Thanks, nice guy, Steven.
No, I just said like I just because we're the same age, so I just said like, hey man, like I saw what you're doing. I've always kind of wanted to do that, and now I'm like, I think that's really awesome. So congrats.
I know.
Yeah. So I
now,
said that.
And now I'm envious because
Yeah.
pretty much everything he's thought of, I thought of as well.
Yeah. Well,
Or so I claim.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, and it's just our opinion, man. All right, Steven. Say what we always say, which I just said.
All right, man. It's just our opinion. I don't have anything. It's just our opinion, man. We'll see you later next week.